Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a switch in one room that turns on lights in other rooms. I've got a simple project set up here that the player starts out in a room called control room, and there are two other rooms, the storage room and the hallway. And if I go to those rooms, you can see that the emitting light box is not checked, right? So those rooms are dark and the hallway is dark also. And also notice that I have a switch, and the switch is in the control room, and the initial description of the switch, which is the way it's described when you see it in the room, is there is a switch on the wall. When we examine the switch, it'll say the switch is in the off position. So let's run this project and see what it looks like. You can see there it is. This is a small control room. There are doors to the east and west. That's our room description, right? Where we are, where we can go. Boom, done. And there's the switch object right there. There's a switch on the wall. And if we look at the switch is in the off position, right? There's the description of the switch. And if we go west, we're in the storage room and it's dark. If we go east from the control room, we're in the hallway and it's dark. So let's see if we can get that switch working. If we try to turn on the switch, right, it'll say, I don't understand, right? Turn off switch. I don't understand. So it knows the verb turn on and turn off. It doesn't, and it understands the word switch, but it doesn't know what to do with that command. So we're going to go make that command. Now, what we're going to need now is a variable that stores whether the switch is on or off. So you want to go over to the variables tab here, and I'm going to make a variable called switch on, or maybe switch state or something like that. And I'll set it to 0 because the switch starts in the off state. And what else could I do? I want to make an event that changes the description of the switch based on whether the switch is on or off, right? So I can change the description of objects, and I'll call it, set switch. Oops, I don't know. What do I call it? I'll call it switch description or something. Switch desk for switch description. And then I can say if switch state is 0, which means the switch is off, then the switch's description, which is switch dot description, dot means go into the switch, and this is, now I'm going to access the description property of the switch. Think of the dot as the apostrophe S. The switch's description is now the switch is in the off position, right? And then if the switch state is 1 or otherwise, it's either going to be 0 or 1. Those are the only two things we're going to allow it to be. We'll say the switch is in the on position. Okay. So if the switch state variable is 0, the description of the switch will be the switch is in the off position. Otherwise, the switch's description will be the switch is in the on position, right? So now remember, events are run every turn. Every time you make a move, the events are run, and they kind of keep track of events in your game, and they change and set the state of different objects. So there's an event that checks the state of the switch and sets its description accordingly. Okay, so now let's add a sentence here. No, actually, sorry. Let's go add a function, and we'll call it switch switch on. So this function will get called when the player types like turn on switch. So if the switch so now what we want to do is check to see if the switch is already on, right? So if switch state equals 1, which means the switch is on, what we want to do is say, hey, the switch is already on. Print line, the switch is already in the on position. There we go. Otherwise, Now let's set the switch state to 1, right? 1 is going to mean on. So now we'll set the switch state to 1. And now what we can do is turn on the lights in the storage room and the hallway. So we could say hallway dot lit equals 1. That means the hallway is now lit, and the storage closet or storage room dot lit is now 1. Let's go back to the objects here and see. So it's called storage room. That's the name of the object, storage underscore room. So let's go back to that function, storage underscore room dot lit equals 1. So if the switch is already on, we say so the switch is already on the on position. Otherwise, now set the switch to the on position, turn on the lights in hallway 1, turn on the lights in the storage room, and we probably want to print out a message that says, you flip the switch to the on position, okay, or the switch is now on. On position. There we go. Okay, so let's just see if this works. And what we have to do now that we've got this function, we need to wire it up to a verb. So let's go to our sentences and see, do we have like a turn on function? We probably should. We have turn on and turn off. Those are built-in. That's a built-in verb. So we can say, if we turn on the switch, call the switch on function and leave that to instead and click add. And now, so when we type turn on switch, it'll call the switch on function and it'll run that code. So let's, I'm going to save my project again and let's just see if it works. Turn on switch. The switch is now in the on position. Cool. And now if I go east, you can see the lights are on in the hallway. If I go west, the lights are on in the storage room. Cool. So that worked. All right, so now let's do the opposite here. Let's make a function called switch off. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy all of that code. I'm going to say new. All right, so now we want to check the opposite. Right? If the switch state is 0, which means the switch is off, we'll say the switch is already in the off position. And then we're just doing the mirror image of this. So now turn the switch into the off state, set its value to 0, which means off, and then set this to 0, which means that the hallway is not lit anymore, the storage room is not lit anymore, and we'll say the switch is now in the off position. All right, so and then what we need to do is wire this up to a sentence as well. So when the player types turn off the switch, call the switch off function, click add, and now let's run it. So it says the switch is on the wall, and then let's try to turn off the switch. The switch should already be off. It says the switch is already in the off position, right? It's already off. Turn on switch. Switch is now in the on position, right? So there are lights. There are lights. Let's go back. Turn off switch. Okay, the switch is now in the off position. See, now it's dark again in those rooms. All right. So what else can we do though? Let's look at the switch. Examine switch. The switch is in the off position. Turn on switch. The switch is in the on position, right? So that's that event, oops, right here, that it says that's setting the description of the switch based on its state, right there. So there you go. There's an example of how you can add a switch to a room, have it turn on the lights in other rooms, and change its description based on its state. So there you go. This project will be out on the T drive with all the sample projects, and you can just copy and paste the code right out of this and make it, modify it to work in your game. But as always, if you have any questions, just ask.